So, I know I've talked about this many times, but this morning was probably a good, if not worst good example of the fact that bus services, no matter if it's the START, Stein RTA, MAX, Turlock Transit, Merced Bus, whatever, here in Central California, in my region, if you will, where I live, or any other bus service out there, even if it's the bus services that are used for travel, like Greyhound. You know, it doesn't matter what bus service, is out there across this country, if not this world. These bus companies, and I've said this before, they need to make sure that whoever they hire on to be drivers are fully trained. They need to make sure that they are fully, thoroughly, back and forth, A to Z, 1 to 1,000, 1 million trained on the routes they're going to be driving. They need to make sure of that. And why? Because that way, what happened this morning to me doesn't happen to anybody else. Let me explain. While I drink some Starbucks here. And I've got about 26 minutes before I clock in. But let me explain. You see, this morning, I'm scheduled to start at 10 o'clock, work till 5. So I wake up around the time my mom's up, get myself together, go take a shower, get some breakfast, which for me was leftover Thanksgiving dinner of turkey, ham, and spicy macaroni. I know that sounds a little weird, but hey, people have eaten stranger breakfasts. Don't question me on that, because we all know that's a reality, and that's a fact. But anyway, long story short, I get myself ready and everything, relax a little bit, get myself out the door by 7:20, or a little after 7:20, about 7:24, go to my bus stop. Thankfully, there's no construction, in the way to where the bus has to reroute itself down the next street after Inyo and then turn back onto Inyo to basically pick up its passengers, at least at this time frame. So thankfully, there's none of that. But, be that as it may, the 7:30 bus comes, right on time, right on schedule, no problem, no big issue, right on schedule. And then, as we approach Patterson Park, we're the only bus that arrives. Okay, fine. Again, no big deal whatsoever, right? No big deal. Whatsoever, no big deal. But then, as I drink my Starbucks here, when the 40 bus, which becomes the 45E, arrives, instead of turning, like let's say you see this corner over here, right here, instead of coming like around the corner here, like from around the back of my job's building, and basically coming up to this area right here, and parking alongside the other buses, instead, it decides to go straight. Right beyond the back of Home Depot's Garden Center. Only for it then to turn around and come back and park where it's supposed to be at the park area alongside the other buses. And that clued me in right there that this was going to be an interesting ride. And boy, was it. Because the moment I board, because it automatically switches from 40 to 45E. It automatically switches from 40, that says 40, Modesto Junior College, Wesley, Garrison, you name it. It switches over to 45E, Turlock Patterson. So I boarded thinking, okay, I'm going to be able to go to work, no problem, right? Not really. Because what happens is the driver ends up getting confused. Yeah, they have some passengers on board that think they're going to Modesto. But in reality, what they don't realize is they're actually going to Turlock. They're on the wrong bus. The bus they're supposed to be going on is the one I came off of, from Newman. The one that was the 45W, it is now the 40. Anyway, to get to the point, basically these two people think they're going to Modesto. And I guess it kind of confuses the driver, who, by the way, is about the same age, if not a bit older than my mom. My mom was born in 1949. It's 2022. You kind of can figure out what the age is when you basically do the math. And if you add maybe another year or two onto it, that's probably around the age that this driver was. And being around that age, I guess they got kind of confused. And I say this with all due respect, no offense. They kind of got confused, as to where they were going, because I guess they figured, all right, I'm still going to do the 40 route. I'm still going to do Route 40 to Modesto. Not realizing, if you will, this is supposed to basically go to Turlock. And what happens is it takes me to tell them, you're going the wrong way, because they're automatically heading towards Modesto. So you can only imagine, in my opinion, from my point of view, you can only imagine how I was feeling, or you can only imagine that if they had not listened to what I was saying and then contacted their base to kind of get confirmation that, yeah, you're supposed to go to Turlock, because you're now the 45E. Can you imagine basically the 45W that became the 40, going down the Modesto route and seeing the bus that just came from the 40 doing the 40? I mean, it was that kind of a situation to where I had to tell them, hey, you're going down the wrong way. You're going down the wrong way. And they're like, what? What? Excuse me? I said, yeah, you're supposed to turn on Las Palmas. You see, they're supposed to basically go from, where they're parked at, and then go down to the route's, direction. And I told them, you're supposed to go down Las Palmas. You're supposed to go down Las Palmas. So what happened is they had to turn over to another street that's like a street or two beyond the Yellow Store, which is a temporary bus stop when Patterson has events like, the Fiesta or whatever. It becomes, that becomes a temporary bus stop. Anyway, to get to the point, they stop over there, in that street area, one street beyond the Yellow Store, and they contact the base. They tell them what's going on, and their base has to basically correct them too. They basically have to correct them and say, yeah, you're supposed to do 45E Turlock. You switched over. They got confused. And once they finally were able to correct it, they still did it wrong. Because, okay, they were getting directions, but I guess the directions were confusing them. Because from what I could tell, okay, the lady at HQ, at their headquarters, at their base, was telling them, the bus driver, that this, to go back, to kind of, retrace their steps, go back to where they're supposed to be, and then turn down Las Palmas, and then turn down the street that's near the Vallejo, the Vallejo gas station. Because there's a bus stop right there at the Vallejo gas station. And what happens is instead, they go down Walnut. Now, I can understand, okay, they're going to go down Walnut, and then maybe they're going to go straight, because once you go down the street that's on the Valero's at, basically, and, where it has a bus stop and everything, and then you have another bus stop after that, a few blocks down, you turn down the street that's kind of like right behind the streets of where my older sister lives. So anyway, long story short, instead, they go down, I guess it's called First Street. Yeah, that's what it was, First Street. Because First Street is, like I said, where the Valero's at, where the bus stops at, the two bus stops are. So instead of going straight and kind of keeping on track to where they turn down Hartley Street and then go down Las Palmas, instead they go down first and they just go straight down Las Palmas. And I have to point out to them when we get to the traffic stop, near Hartley, that yeah, you were supposed to turn out that way. So, so obviously they got confused. Thankfully, they were able to kind of remember finally, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do, because one of the passengers that was on there thought they were going to Modesto, and the driver had to say, yeah, that was kind of my fault. I got confused, and I'm actually supposed to do Turlock, so you're gonna have to wait until I get to the transit center there to go to Modesto or something like that. I tell you, out of all the years that I have rode the bus, even when it was just to my job at Walmart, out of all the times, I have never once had a driver get confused about where they're supposed to go route-wise. Now, yeah, some of the new drivers that would drive early in the morning, the first or second route, or drive at night, usually the last route, usually some of the new drivers, yes, they would get confused too, and they'd have to basically get themselves corrected. Either the passengers would have to help them out, or they'd have to call base. But as far as I know, neither one of them ever thought they stayed on the same route. Each of them knew they would be transferring over. Each of them knew, yeah, we are doing, a new route. It's like you're still riding the same bus. It's just a new route. And sometimes when they would get to the Patterson Park or even to the Turlock Transit Center, they would radio the headquarters or base to confirm, to make sure, what's my next route? Am I supposed to do this? And usually they'll be told, yes, you're supposed to do it. Never once did they ever think they were still doing the same route. That same route situation is only reserved for Saturdays, because on Saturdays it's an every 3-hour pickup. Okay? It's an every 3-hour pickup. So it doesn't make sense to switch to different routes if it's just for every 3 hours. This is different. This is every hour and 40 minutes. Every hour and 40 minutes, basically every 100 minutes. There's a big difference. Very big difference. And for them to have a driver that gets confused, that they think they're still doing the same route and are not, only for it to finally, dawn on them like, oops, I was supposed to do this. That's not a good sign, especially if the driver, like I said, is as old as my mom. My mom, like I said, born in 1949. It's 2022. You figure out the age math-wise, and then probably add a year or two onto that for maybe this driver, and it's like, why? Why would you even? And look, nothing against hiring older people to drive, but come on, you look at how people feel about our president and how confused he is, and how people feel like, yeah, once he's done as president, it's going to be revealed that he's in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets revealed. But still, nothing against older people being hired for jobs. I mean, I work with an older person here at Target, and she does a decent job, even if she's a little slow, as a cashier. But still, why hire someone that might, I don't know, mentally get confused? Mentally doesn't have the best reputation or history when it comes to directions. Why do that? What, because they have previous experience? Yeah, maybe they have previous experience decades before. That doesn't mean they have that. Doesn't mean that same experience is going to apply now. It's just, to me, a lot of these bus services, not just Start, the S, if you will, as it's now known, Stand RTA, Max, Turlock Transit, Merced Bus, BART, Greyhound, it does not matter what bus services are out there, or what transportation services, are out there. All right? If you're going to hire people to be drivers for your vehicles, to transport people to their destinations, make sure they are thoroughly trained from A to Z, from 1 to a million, from front to back. Make sure they are thoroughly trained. And make sure that when you hire them, you do a little bit of a background check to make sure whether or not they can handle this kind of a job. Because if they can't, then that's not a good sign for you if you just put them behind the wheel. Because you are endangering not just them, but the passengers. And not just endangering them because of potential accidents, but you are also risking losing a lot of business because you could cause those passengers not to make the appointments or not make it to their job on time, and it could ruin anything they had planned with that appointment, or they could make them lose their job because of that. This is something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed immediately. Again, I have dealt with drivers, as I check the time here, I have dealt with drivers that are new, that have drove the last buses of the evening, that even though they were new at it, and a little confused at times, they weren't so confused that they thought they were going to stick on the same route. They had enough sense to say, oh, let me contact my base. Let me ask my passengers to make sure I'm going to be, doing this route, or make sure, basically they make sure to check off the boxes so that they don't mess up. I mean, I had a driver that does the 7-Eleven bus from Turlock all the way to Newman, because he goes from 45E to W. And he got a little lost. I don't know if maybe he got some lights flashed in his eyes, and because of the LED lights, the brights of other cars, and it caused him to get confused, and he turned the wrong way. I don't know, but he did end up lost a little bit. What did he do? He contacted the base. They corrected him, well, not corrected him, but they helped him get back on track, and that was it. It was just a minor 15-20 minute delay. A minor 15 to 20 minute delay. And that was it. And he was back on track. Never once did he ever get confused by saying, okay, after I go to Patterson, I drop this person off and I'm done, right? No, they knew where they were going. Finishing off my Starbucks there. But they knew where they were going. They knew it. They knew it. And that was it. Like I said, there was no issues whatsoever afterwards. I even had, like I said, I've had drivers that I knew that got confused. But at least they knew. Like I said, at least they knew. Yeah, they would still be a little worried. They'd be asking us because, it's the first time driving at night and everything. Okay, fine. Not a big issue. We can help you out there. Not a big issue. We can help you out there. Okay? But still, it's like, never once, even out of all those people that would be a little confused because they're either new at it or they're not used to driving at night or whatever, even then, none of them, as far as I know, ever thought they stayed on the same route. Never once. And this person had to contact base 3 to 4 times, and they had to put them on speaker 3 to 4 times because I guess the mic, the walkie, it wasn't working. So they had to put them on speaker. And even then they felt a little confused. And it felt like maybe something was wrong with them, health-wise. And again, it's not a good sign for your transportation service, for passengers, especially during the holiday season, when you end up hiring someone like that to do the job, to transport passengers to their destinations. It's not a good sign. And again, like I said, I have never dealt with anything like that ever, even with the newer drivers. Because at least the newer drivers would at least ask us for help. They would, contact a base. They would do all that. Now, like I said, thankfully, this person, once they figured out, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this, and apologized to the one driver thinking, I thought you were supposed to go to Modesto. And they're like, yeah, that was my bad. I'm supposed to actually go here. Thankfully, that person, once they got back on track and kind of figured out where they were going, when they dropped me off here at work and everything, or at my bus, here at the bus stop near my work, at least they thanked me for helping out. And I have no problem doing that because I want to get home safely. I want to get home safely. You know, I want to get home safely. I want to get to work safely. I do not need any confusion. And the crazy thing is, I was working on basically editing my videos that I had uploaded this morning onto YouTube. I was basically putting in the titles for them and all that when I started noticing this happening. And I was like, yeah, you made a mistake here. So I'm going to say this to all bus services out there. I know a lot of you watch YouTube. Hopefully you guys will look at this and you'll realize that if you're going to hire people to be your drivers of your vehicles, your trains, your trains, your travel buses, whatever, your city buses, whatever, regional, make sure that they are properly trained. Make sure that they have somebody with them if they're new, so they don't get confused. Because if you don't, it's gonna be a bad look for you. It's gonna be a bad look, for the company overall, and it's gonna cause a lot of trust issues, and it's gonna cause you to lose a lot of business. So that's all I really want to say, guys. I just wanted to vent about that, get that off my chest, because, yeah, like I said, never once have I ever dealt with this. I mean, I've had new drivers be confused, but thankfully they've been confused to the point that they thought they were doing the same route still. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this, get this off my chest. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like the video, live chat during the premiere. This will be an audio version, hopefully, in my audio podcast of BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite podcast locations except for Pandora. Check me out at divanaut.com, that's BVW1979, patreon.com, that's BW Roses. To support me there with a $1, $3 tier, Venmo at Brian-Roman-2, Cash App at BW Roses 98, Teespring store, check that out for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. And also, ladies and gentlemen, support me at VENMO for content you can't get here on YouTube. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are overall. I gotta get into work now, and I will talk to y'all later.